Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Brandon Mulrenin.
You're listening to the Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
How's it going, Brandon?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Awesome. So who is Brandon? What does Brandon do?
Yeah, so I'm a real estate broker. I have a real estate brokerage firm here in Metro Detroit. We've got about 200 agents. In addition to that, I coach and train real estate agents all over the world. And so that's what I do. But my real focus, Brad and Taylor, is that it's my goal to help people that are entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, how to sell. I'm trying to teach them how to sell without coming across as like this high pressure salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's really my mission in my life moving forward as it relates to my career, is helping people learn how to sell, how to communicate without being salesy.
Okay.
Awesome. So let's back up a little bit before we go all in depth into that. What did you want to be when you grew up? Did you want to be an agent, or what did you start out with?
The funny thing is, here's coming full circle. I always wanted to be a teacher.
Huh.
Okay.
So growing up, I think everybody has like a teacher they look back to in elementary school or middle school that they really had a relationship with. And I remember wanting, like, my seventh grade math teacher, Mr. Maddock. He made such an impact on me. He was the football coach. I played football, and I really wanted to teach and educate and pour into people at a young age. And as I grew older, I didn't know that would come full circle to where it is today, where that's exactly who I am.
Yeah.
It's just in a different form than how I planned it.
That's so
awesome.
neat that it came full circle like that.
Did you go to school for it or anything, or did you? What did you end up doing after you got out of high school?
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing that most people probably don't know about me is I have no formal education. I barely finished high school, no college education. I was supposed to be a statistic, and maybe I still am, just on the opposite side, but I wasn't supposed to win. I wasn't supposed to succeed. I grew up with nothing, no formal education. I'm the guy that, like, everyone grew up with and said, oh, that dude he's not going to amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, we could talk more about how that's shaped who I am today.
Yeah.
But that's what I was supposed to be, but no formal education outside of investing in mentorship. Now I probably have over $250,000 invested in personal coaching and one-on-one mentorship outside of your traditional education space.
Awesome. What was one of the first kind of things you did? You said you spent it on all these like programs or anything. What was the first one you finally were like, I think I need to invest in myself? What do you remember that first one you did?
Robert Kiyosaki.
Nice.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Everybody probably has heard of that before. But I was a 15-year-old sophomore going through Robert Kiyosaki's coaching program. And, he talks a lot about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if you guys know the story.
Yep.
Do you guys know that story?
I do not. Yeah.
So I'll just give you the highlight version, Taylor. The poor dad was the guy that, did very good in high school, went to get his college education, went to go get his good job, and he made $100,000 a year, and he lived, lived beyond his means, and he worked at one employer for 30 years. It's what society wants you to believe. Like, that's the path.
Yep.
And that was the poor dad.
Okay.
The rich dad was the entrepreneur. He went a different direction, not the traditional education. He was worth $50 million. And it was a totally different path. And for the first time in my life, I grew up in Rochester, Michigan. Everyone's loaded. They're all rich. Society's like, oh, you got to go to college. You got to go to college. You got to go to college. It's the only way. Get a good job. Robert Kiyosaki was the first person to pour into my life that told me the opposite of that. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He's got a point. I mean, I have all these teachers surrounding me making $50,000 a year, struggling financially, pinching pennies. And then I've got the business owners that are living the life that I want.
Yeah.
Living where you want, driving what you want, wearing what you want, going on vacation. And I said, man, society, I think, has it all wrong. And so that's been the path. That's been my trajectory since I was 15 years old as a sophomore in high school.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's not common for 15 years old to make that connection and then just go for it. That's awesome.
Yep. So did you go straight into being an agent? I think you did something before you became an agent. What did you do before that?
Yeah. So out of high school, I was fortunate enough to get my first mentor. He owned a sporting good store, and they sold skis and snowboards. And right out of high school, I went to go work for him. In addition to Robert Kiyosaki, you guys, my first mentor was highly educated. He
Mm-hmm.
was an attorney by trade, very educated man. He was the second person in my life to say, if you want to become wealthy, if you're going to learn how to sell and how to lead people, and oh, by the way, they don't teach you that in college. So
Yeah.
if you want to go down this path, don't go that path. Stay with me. I'll mentor you. And at 19 years old, I'll remember it. My friends are all at Michigan State. They're at Harvard. They're at Michigan. They're out at these huge schools
Mm-hmm.
partying and have the time of their lives. I'm working for this guy, and I'm making $60,000 or $70,000 a year running and leading these retail stores, managing and leading 40, 50-year-olds at 19 years old, making at the time what I thought was great money, getting the education of a lifetime, where again, society's like, no, you have to go learn this at Michigan State.
Yeah.
I'm learning on the street with a real entrepreneur doing the real work, making real money. And so for those 4 years, from the time out of high school till I was about 21, before I started to get into the mortgage business, I got the best education of my life by
Mm-hmm.
a real entrepreneur. And oh, by the way, I got paid to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
So
ideal.
how long did you do the mortgage stuff for? Because I know you that's what you were doing before an agent.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
So after that, I got recruited by Quicken Loans.
Mhm.
Everyone knows them today as Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans. And I started to go work there when I was 21 years old. That's where I met my wife. And I worked there until about 2000, right after the Great Recession of like 2007, 2008, the worst real estate market in the history of the world. I thought it'd be a good idea to get into real estate. So that's when I left the mortgage business to get into real estate.
Yeah, that's crazy. So tell us about your first, did you just go, were you a team of people, or did you just go solo into being an agent?
I started off on a team.
Okay.
So when I got into business, I went on another top producer's team, because I came from this big team, right? This culture at Quicken where you're surrounded by leadership and team, and
Mm-hmm.
teaching. And I learned so much there. I mean, that also shaped who I am today. But when I got into real estate, I went to go work for one of the top agents in Michigan, learned a ton before I went out on my own and started my own team.
That's awesome. So talk about, so you went, you're an agent, you weren't on a team. Talk about when you opened your brokerage, because that wasn't that long ago, and now you're got 200 agents. So tell us
Yeah.
about starting that, and why did you want to start it, and go from there.
Yep, absolutely. So I leave the team. I go become a solo agent, and I build a very, very successful real estate sales business to the point where I was selling 100 homes a year. And then what happened was my brokerage at the time was like, hey, can you teach? I mean, you got to this point fast. Can you teach other agents how you did this?
Mm-hmm.
So I started teaching and coaching. Then the company that I was with started to recognize that on more of a national level. So I started to train and coach agents all over the country. And this is when I was still a real estate agent, or still producing every day.
Yeah.
And then I started my coaching business first before the brokerage. And I started coaching and training agents. And then what happened, Brad and Taylor, is broker owners, people who owned real estate companies, started coming to me and asking me to help them grow their companies. And in addition to that, real estate brokerage traditionally, and I don't want to poo-poo anybody's business, but they're supposed to educate their agents, train their agents, coach their agents, help their agents become successful. And that's just not happening. And in addition to that, traditional real estate brokerage, they want a whole bunch of the agent's money. So I said, well, what if I did the exact opposite?
Yeah.
What if I actually did train coach agents and they got to keep all the money? That'd be an interesting business model. And so what ended up happening after training and coaching agents and leading and coaching real estate broker owners, I said, wait a minute, why don't I launch my own company? We did that early 2019, and we've grown really, really fast because of that model where we pour into the agent through education, through leadership, and they get to keep all the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When you first started out and you had your mentors, is there any advice that they gave you that you took and you put it into your coaching when you turned around and you were coaching others?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I will tell you, and anybody that's in my life today will tell you the same thing, Taylor, is traditionally society tells you that from a leadership standpoint, like when you go work for somebody, like they're the boss, they're the manager, you're going to work for that person. What I was taught very early on and who I am today is the exact opposite. So what does that mean? That means, Taylor, that I serve the people that work for me. It's the opposite way around.
Okay.
And so I look at it more of a servant leaders type culture where the people who are in my world, they don't work for me, Taylor. Quite frankly, I work for them.
Yeah.
It's what can I do as their leader to help push them, guide them, grow them, help them build the best versions of themselves. And that is the type of leadership that I was taught at a young age that I think so many people are attracted to.
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah. So tell us about your kind of your selling, like your reverse selling tactic. I know that's not really whatever wording you would be correct, but because I know when I heard you talk about it, I remember your presentation. I mean, that was at one of the times. So we actually kind of use some of that model too. But yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I call it reverse selling.
Okay.
And so again, you can tell just through this interview, everything that I do is pretty much the opposite of what society tells us we should do, right? So same thing with traditional sales. Traditional sales, for decades and decades and decades, the three of us, we were all built to not trust salespeople, that salespeople have a bias towards looking out for themselves and not for you. And so you always have to have your guard up. Well, what I teach is the exact opposite approach, that you lead these sales conversations through contribution, regardless if a sale is made or not. And so what we believe is that people don't care how much you know until you know how much they care. And so we pour into a relationship first with wanting nothing in return, which is the law of reciprocity, by the way. And so when that occurs, the prospect or the other person on the other end of the communication was like, wow, I mean, I've just never dealt with anybody like this.
Yeah.
That's the foundation principle guiding methodology of reverse selling. There's a lot of skills and tactics that go along with it, but that's the principle behind it is go and serve the prospect and stop selling the prospect.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So kind of going forward, you have your team of, you said 200 agents, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going in the future in the next 5 years?
So 2020, we finished in the top 25 of all companies in Michigan. And that was like our first full year in business. This year, we're planning to break the top 10 and break over $500 million in real estate sales volume. But over the next 5 years, Taylor, the goal is that Brookstone branches out to be a national, the first full service, virtual 100% commission concept company in the world, where we're serving agents in all 50 states, servicing them from a service center here in Michigan, and doing the same thing we've done here in Metro Detroit all across the country.
Yeah.
And hopefully doing two things. Number one is helping to stop the large failure rate in real estate. Almost 90% of all real estate agents fail within their first year, is to help that. And then two, serve the real estate agent community at such a higher level than what traditional brokers have done by having them keep more of the money and providing more education, more training, more leadership, more tools, more technology, all of those things to help the people in this industry succeed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially if because right at the beginning, I know, because I mean, a new agent has to fork up a lot to make that work, and especially if they're getting like 100%. Commission wise, that makes it definitely start out where at least they could pretty much kind of jumpstart, and then especially with all your training, that works out really well.
That's exactly right.
So, okay, we got a question for you. This one is, let's say you started all over and you only had $1,000 in your pocket. What would you do?
From a business perspective, right?
Yeah, business. You could be an agent. Or, just kind of, let's just talk about being an agent. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would change of how when you first started out?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have. I probably, there's a couple things. I mean, if I only had $1,000, but there's a couple different angles I can go, but like I'll just shoot off the cuff here, right? Just open conversation.
Yep.
I probably would have opened my brokerage faster.
Yeah.
Probably would have went down that path. There's a lot of limiting beliefs of why I didn't do that for so long. And so I probably, I'm just thinking through that, I would have invested that money into mentorship around building a real estate company versus, so much money on the real estate sales side.
Yeah.
Not that that didn't serve me, but that probably would have been one thing that I would have changed.
Yeah.
Is probably learn the brokerage side earlier on because, fear held me back for a long time to go out there on your own and build a company. I think for most people, they feel the same way.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And knowing what I know now, when you're asking me that question, that's probably the direction I would have gone sooner.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I see you've got a bunch of books behind you. We do have a question about books I wanted to go ahead and ask you. Do you have a book that you've read business-wise that has really like stuck out to you or has really helped you that you would recommend to anybody starting out?
By far, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is by far, it's not even close. It's the best book of all time written for business people, or how about this? Any human being on earth on how to build a life of your dreams is all in this book, and it will change your life. And so I read it a couple times a year. All of my leaders do the same thing. By far, that's my number one.
Sweet. I was looking at all yours up there, and I was like, I've read most all of them, and that's the one I haven't.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you guys.
I'm gonna go out and buy it tonight.
Right now,
get the audio. Well, I'm an audio version.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yep.
So if you guys haven't gone through The Compound Effect,
nope.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous because you get to go through that for the first time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Make sure you tell me how that goes, because it'll change everything for you.
Yeah, the book I'm reading right now, it's A Road Less Stupid. Have you read that one? That one's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with it's pretty good.
Do you know who wrote that one?
I don't know what it is, but it's The Road Less Stupid. It explains things and it talks to you just like, don't do this because it's stupid. Like it's for business wise, but it's really good. I was pretty impressed with it so far. I've been reading it all day.
The Compound Effect. That's what that one was called.
The Compound Effect. And then it's by Darren Hardy, one of my other mentors. He also wrote the entrepreneurial roller coaster, which is another just unbelievable book.
Every time you reread that, do you find something else like every time that you?
Every time.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's so true in life, right? You could hear the same message over and over and over again, but somehow, some way, you heard it a different way, and it's like, wow, goosebumps all over again.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna order it.
Awesome. Okay, so you're doing also a lot of stuff on YouTube, and a lot of stuff for your coaching stuff. Is that is YouTube done pretty well for you?
Yeah, I mean, so it's probably okay. So
because I've been watching it, and I'm like. Well, I'm like,
let me rewind the whole thing. Can I just change my answer on the $1,000 thing?
Yeah.
I would have gone all out. I'm talking all out on YouTube as far back as I could have gone.
Okay.
YouTube has really been the thing that changed everything. It's how I've grown the real estate business, how I've grown my real estate business, how I've grown my real estate coaching business, how everything has occurred for me. And people don't even understand it because here's the reality. In like on our local level, if you go ask your friends, your top 5, 10 friends, hey, you guys have a YouTube channel? You won't find anybody.
I know.
And so it's very rare. And so YouTube for me literally changed my life. I mean, the power of this thing is unfathomable. I couldn't even put it into words in this podcast, of what it's done for me from an economic standpoint. And with all my businesses, it's how both of my companies grow. 100% comes through YouTube. And it is so powerful. I can't even put words to it.
Yeah.
When did you start doing YouTube?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, the first 3 years I'm pumping out content, right? No, the first 2 years, 17 and 18, 19 even, you get no traction, nothing, right? I'm sitting at like 2,000 subs and everyone's like, dude, what's the deal? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just keep pumping. Yeah. Speaking of the fact, Taylor, that's what this whole book is about.
Okay.
And it wasn't until 2020. It's not about YouTube. It's about the compounding effect of daily habits.
Yep.
And then it just exploded. Everything exploded. And now everything is just amazing. And so I bet you by the end of 2021, we're sitting at about 15,000 subscribers. We'll be at 40,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. And then the goal is to get to 100,000 in the next 2 or 3 years.
That's awesome. I remember when you hit 10,000 and then I was like,
that's a big deal.
I feel like that was like yesterday. And I look up and like every time I look on there, you got like another 1,000 subscribers. And I was like, dang, you pulled that off real well, because once you get traction, I mean, I can just definitely tell you're just like taking off now.
Taking off, but it took a while. And that's the thing. People look at you now, and it's like anything in life. I mean, it's like it's that iceberg. I wish I had it in here. It's the best like visual from an entrepreneur standpoint. Like you see the iceberg on top.
Oh yeah.
No one sees like the stuff beneath, right?
Yep.
No one sees I'm up at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, editing videos for 5 years, 4 years, and like 2 people watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone's like, dude, that thing sucked. And my first videos were terrible.
Yeah.
So no one sees all that. No one sees the work behind the scenes. They only see the results. And YouTube has been the manifestation. My whole life has been a manifestation of that. Yeah. No one has seen the blood, sweat, and tears that I pour into my life from a non-traditional standpoint. And then they see me today and like, oh, wow, it's like an overnight success. I'm like, yeah, it's like a 20-year overnight success.
Exactly. So true. Awesome. Is there one platform that has helped you? Not like platform for like social media, but is there like one software that you use that pretty much helps you out more than anything in your business?
Yeah. So we've tried a lot, right? I mean, that's a massive shiny object that most people get caught up in. Which software? I mean, you just go through tons of them, right?
Yeah.
And for us, the Google Suite has been a game changer. I mean, for us, I mean, it's just been the best. We've tried all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, all these project management softwares and all this stuff, right? And you get so distracted. It's like Betsy Sue's working on the new Trello platform for 6 weeks. It's like, dude, we could just use Google Drive and it's way better. So Google Drive for us, for email, everything, man. We tried every email platform. Google for us, for our business, has been absolutely the best.
Yeah, awesome. I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, you know what? What would be? I was like, maybe that's a question I should ask. And I was like, you know what? What would be the one I would? I was thinking Google too, because I was like, you know what? You don't really think about that, but you use it every single day, like all day. And that's, I mean, Google Drive is amazing.
It's amazing. And it's free. I mean, you know, like we're spending so much time, and like Google Drive is better. And oh, by the way, it's free.
Yeah.
I mean,
so why not use it? Yeah.
The platform's the best. Docs are the best. Forms are the best. Everything's the best, and it's all free.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. Is there, how can people get a hold of you?
Instagram these days. Just find me at Brandon Mulrenin. Just add me on Instagram. You can send me a DM. I respond to every single one of them. And that's the best place to connect for sure.
Sweet. How can they find you on YouTube?
Brandon Mulrenin is my YouTube channel. And so go on there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. You guys also hit the subscribe button on here, too. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
There you go. Give you guys some love. Give you some love.
Hit that like button. Awesome. Well, and how can, if they want to join your team, where would they go for that?
Yeah. So if you're a real estate agent, you're watching or listening to this, I mean, you can just go to joinbrookstonerealtors.com, find out what we do, how we serve agents, and then you can decide if it's a good fit or not. But that'd be the best place for sure.
Sweet. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I mean, I guess the only other thing I would say is I love the work that your team does. And I really mean that. I mean, yes, you have a company that does has services for real estate people and photography and videography. That's what you do, but your team is much more than that. The way that you care, the way you treat people, the way you pour into relationships, the content that you're making, the way you serve the community. I mean, I could just keep going on and on and on, and that's real. I mean, this is very real. You just happen to be a photography company, but you're much, much, much more than that. And so I would just thank you guys for all the work that you guys are doing.
Hey, thank you. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at it? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah, I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review for listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars, guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take 4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
I don't think this is working.
This is not working.